It sees things other cars can't. How far can Ford technology take you?
दुबई, सपनों का शहर। यहां ना जाने कितने सपने रोज उतरते हैं। अपनों को खुशियां देने के सपने, कुछ बड़ा कर दिखाने के सपने, सपने अपने लिए, सपने अपनों के लिए। लेकिन ख्वाब और हकीकत के बीच का यह सफर न जाने कितनी कोशिशों, कितनी मुश्किलों और कितने इम्तिहानों से तय होता है। इस सफर में कुछ लोग टूट के बिखर जाते हैं, कुछ बुलंदियों पर पहुंचकर अपने सपनों को पूरा होते देखते हैं। लेकिन एक तीसरी किस्म भी है जो लड़ रही है हालात से, किस्मत से, वक्त से, और टूट के बिखर जाना जिन्हें मंजूर नहीं। कुछ ऐसे लोग जिनका सपना ही दूसरों के सपने साकार करना है, जिन लोगों ने हमें सिखाया कि इस जज्बे के लिए ना तो पैसा जरूरी है, ना रसूख और ना ही वक्त। इस जज्बे के लिए जरूरी है तो बस नियत। ये मामूली लोग हैं जो गैर मामूली काम कर रहे हैं। ये ऐसे ही लोगों की कहानी है।
गमों को हंसते ही देखा है, खुशियों को रोते भी देखा है। एक अकेला बड़ा सहारा, भीड़ को तन्हा भी देखा है। ये शहर, ये रौनकें, और इम्तिहान कैसे कैसे। इसी ज़मीं पे मिले हैं हमको आसमां कैसे कैसे, आसमां कैसे कैसे, आसमां कैसे कैसे।
नमस्कार, सलाम, आदाब, गुड इवनिंग। मेरा नाम है गगन मुदगल और यह है फोर्ड दी एक्स्ट्रॉर्डिनरी। दोस्तों, इस शो में हम आपको बहुत अमीर लोगों से मिलाते हैं। ये दिल के बहुत अमीर हैं और ये दूसरों के लिए जीते हैं, उन्हें मुस्कानें देते हैं, उनकी ज़िंदगी का दुख छीन लेते हैं और बेशुमार दुआएं इनको मिलती है जिसकी हम सबको ज़रूरत है। इस शो में आज तक हमने आपको उन लोगों से मिलवाया है जो यूएई में हैं या यूएई के आसपास सब कॉन्टिनेंट में कुछ काम कर रहे हैं। लेकिन आज के इस शो में एक ऐसी शख्सियत से हम मिलेंगे जो यहाँ से बहुत दूर हाइटी में लोगों के लिए काम कर रही है, उनको सहारा पहुँचा रही है। देखते हैं इनके काम की छोटी सी झलक।
साल 2010 हाइटी में एक खौफनाक वाकया पेश आया। 7.9 मैग्नीट्यूड का अर्थक्वेक जिसने सिर्फ 1 मिनट में पूरे शहर को तबाह करके रख दिया। यह खबर सुनते ही एक इंसान ने हिम्मत की। उसने तय कर लिया कि उसकी जरूरत उसके घर से ज्यादा हाइटी में जलजले से मुतासिर लोगों के बीच है। मलीसा, जो दुबई में एक आरामदेह जिंदगी गुजार रही थी, यहाँ के ऐशो आराम को छोड़कर उन लोगों की मदद में जुट गई जो इस जलजले की वजह से बेघर हो चुके थे। आज 3 साल गुजर चुके हैं। मलीसा एक बहुत अहम किरदार निभा रही हैं हाइटी के सुधार में। वो ये सब कैसे कर रही हैं और क्या मकसद है उनका इतनी जद्दोजहद के पीछे? इन सब के जवाब जानने के लिए स्वागत कीजिए हमारी आज की मेहमान का, मलीसा।
आसमां कैसे कैसे.
Malisa, thank you so much for coming to the show.
No problem at all. Thank you so much for inviting me.
And especially in your sensitive condition.
So it's lovely to be here, and you get 2 for the price of 1 this evening.
2 for the price of 1. That's a good one. You know, your story is very inspiring. But let's start with your profession. What do you do?
Well, before my trip to Haiti, I worked in fashion and beauty PR. But since my return, I have set up Frontline Fashion. So I'm the founder of Frontline Fashion. What Frontline Fashion is trying to educate people that you can be style conscious, but with a social conscience. So the idea is that you can help others, but maintain your lifestyle exactly as it is at the same time. Frontline Fashion is an online website which combines style and philanthropy. And we also have a clothing line, a line of t-shirts, which have the slogan, "Humanity is always in style," and all profits from that range go towards our projects in Haiti.
Humanity is always in style. Tell us about your inspiration. What made you go to Haiti and work for such a noble cause?
Well, I can remember the day very clearly. It was January the 12th, 2010. And on the news came the news that an earthquake had hit the island of Haiti.
True.
And more than 250,000 people were killed in under a minute. So the numbers are just absolutely staggering. I'd never heard of anything of this scale before, and actually now I found out that it's the biggest natural disaster ever. So I watched the story unfold in the news, and it just absolutely consumes me. I had never planned to do any volunteer work before. To be perfectly honest, I'm embarrassed to say I had never even heard of Haiti before. But just watching the story unfold and seeing the devastation and the amount of people that lost absolutely everything, that lost their world in such a short period of time, I knew that I had to help. It just took over, and I wanted to be there, and I wanted to do something.
Why did you decide that I want to be here and help people?
One story that I remember reading, that a group of UN helpers had found 700 children. It's a staggering amount of children who were completely displaced and lost their families and their homes after the earthquake. And they were trying to reunite them with somebody who knew them, a friend or a family. Out of that 700, they managed to find 12 homes, 12 families, so not very many. And out of those 12, only 5 of the families wanted the children back. Not in the slightest because they didn't love them, but just because times are so hard and they'd lost absolutely everything. And to be honest, even before the earthquake, Haiti wasn't in a very stable place. And they just felt that maybe offering the children to an orphanage or giving them another opportunity would give them a better chance of life. And when I heard that how these parents could not turn their back on their children, that's not correct, but love them so much to try and give them a better future, and I just thought, I want to be a part of this. I need to be there and I need to be doing something.
Amazing. एक छोटा सा ब्रेक लेंगे. ब्रेक के बाद फोर्ड द एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी में एक बार फिर बात होगी मलिसा से.
आसमां कैसे कैसे.
स्वागत है एक बार फिर आप सभी का. आप देख रहे हैं फोर्ड द एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी, आसमां कैसे कैसे. Malisa, my next question to you is, when you first landed in Haiti, what was the scenario like?
Devastating. You saw the pictures on the news and you read about it in all the papers, and you think you mentally prepare yourself for what you're going to experience. But I remember the plane landing, and I just remember everything being grey. When I got off the plane and I experienced the smell, and it was a smell that I'd never come across before, but you instantly, you know what it is. And there's just no getting away from it. And you just know that those hundreds of thousands of people that have died and lost their lives are under all that rubble. And that's what the smell is, and nothing can prepare you for that. So when I got off the plane, I realised that I was really in the middle of it, and I had to roll my sleeves up and be a big brave girl and just get on with it.
So when you saw that scene, you decided that you want to do a lot for that place. How did you start? What was the first step?
You don't really have time to think. You just throw yourself into it. But the one thing that you instinctively do, well, I instinctively did, is never underestimate the power of a cuddle. While the people, not just the children, but the adults too, while they need all these other things as well, just to give somebody a kind of hug, that they've not had that contact or that reassurance for a while. And I hope it doesn't come across as condescending, but we all know how nice it feels when somebody just puts their arms around you and says everything's going to be okay. And just kind of sitting with the children and reassuring them and being there for them, that was one of the main things I had to do initially.
एक्स्ट्रॉर्डनरी में मलिसा से बात हो रही है जो अपनी नौकरी छोड़ के हाइटी गई. इमेजिन कीजिए कि आप एक कंट्री में जाते हैं जहाँ पे अर्थक्वेक आया है, सब कुछ बर्बाद हो गया है, सामने लाखों लाशें हैं, आप कहाँ से शुरू करेंगे? ये सोच पाना कि मुझे कुछ करना है, उसकी जितनी तारीफ की जाए उतनी कम है. और जैसा कि इन्होंने कहा कि वहाँ पे क्या चाहिए लोगों को, जाहिर है बहुत कुछ चाहिए, लेकिन कभी कभी एक हग, किसी को आप गले लगा के उसके बहुत दुखों को दूर कर सकते हैं. आई एम श्योर देयर वर लॉट ऑफ केसेस देयर, बट एनीथिंग इन पर्टिकुलर व्हिच टच्ड योर हार्ट देयर?
There was one orphanage that we went to. There's a little boy called Jeffrey who I fell in love with. Mm-hmm. They thought he was 2.5 years old, but they had no idea because they had no documentation. And the first day that I went to visit him, he was very, very unresponsive, quite swollen, severely suffering from malnutrition. And one of the things that a lot of the children had this kind of dead expression in their eyes. True. And you know that they've seen and they've experienced things that nobody, never mind a child, should have had to have gone through. But anyway, I spent the day with Jeff Day and just trying to interact with him and giving him cuddles and giving him warming tablets and trying to give him rehydration and you just have to hope for the best. But the next week we went back to that same orphanage and he recognised me instantly, and he was, when I say talking, he was going blah, 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 but that was a lot more than he had been doing the week before. And that's just one of absolutely many experiences I've had. I'm so privileged to have met the people that I met when I was there, and so proud that I got that experience and that I'm allowed to still be a part of it.
Melissa, earthquake happened in 2010. It's 2013 now. You know, it takes years to rebuild things. What are you doing now from here?
Well, there is no quick fix, and that's one of the things I want people to understand, is that just because it's no longer on the news or it's not front page of the newspaper doesn't mean that it's gone away and doesn't mean that it's a quick fix. It's going to take a lot of years and a lot of time. And I accepted that when I signed up for this, so to speak. I mean, these are my babies, these are my children, this is my life now. It was never a case of building an orphanage or a school or a building and patting yourself on the back and walking away. I have made a commitment and I'm dedicated to this. And in the past 2.5 years, we have achieved great things that I never thought possible. And to give you an example, when I was first there, I was living in a tent, and you just, each day as it comes, and you have no idea what's round the corner. And through a lot of fundraising, and you also find that you will do, when you make a commitment like this, you do whatever it takes. So in terms of fundraising or flea markets or selling things from your wardrobe, or I even jumped out of a plane and to celebrate the 2-year anniversary. Okay. To remind people, say it's important that it's not gone away. And now we have, from all this fantastic work and all this fantastic help from all these generous people around the world, sure, we have a house. And in our house, we have 6 full-time orphans. Wow. And 3 of these orphans are actually from one family, from the orphanage I told you about previously where Jeffrey was. And seeing them in 2010 and seeing them now, when they're kicking each other and pulling each other's hair and just being real, genuine children, it just makes it's all worthwhile. And that's only a tiny bit. We have running water, we have electricity. These kids get medical attention every month. We send them to the dentist. Within our house, we also have 2 classrooms. And we send 35 children to school every day, the poorest children in the community, the surrounding community. It's about helping the community, helping the economy, and helping people get back on their feet and feeling proud for themselves again. So we employ teachers, so that obviously the kids can learn their lessons.
True.
We supply, with the $35, we supply school supplies. We also employ somebody from the local community, and we purchase material to make all the uniforms for the children. So a lot of our kids don't have, when they go home at night or go home in the afternoon, they have nothing. And you see them leaving our school and they go back to their shack, their bit of cardboard, and they fold up their little uniforms and they place it and they're so proud of it, and then they run about in their pants for the rest of the day. And that's all these children would have if they weren't able to come to school. We also, with the $35, are able to give them one meal a day, and for most of these children, that's the only meal that they get. But that's just the start of it. I mean, we've been so fortunate. We've actually bought 7 acres of land nearby, and the idea is to build this community. So everything we have at the moment, but on a much, much bigger scale, much more longevity, and this idea that it's not about just building a building and walking away. It's education, it's teaching, it's building a future.
फोर्ड द एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी आसमा कैसे कैसे आप देख रहे हैं। मलिसा मेरे सामने है, जो कि यूएई में अच्छा जॉब कर रही थी, सब कुछ अच्छा चल रहा था, लेकिन हाइटी के उस बहुत दर्दनाक हादसे ने इनकी ज़िंदगी बदली। इन्होंने जॉब छोड़ के वहाँ जाके लोगों का घर बसाने का डिसाइड किया, लोगों की हेल्प करने का डिसाइड किया। इनसे बहुत सारी बातें अभी बाकी है, देखते रहिए।
आसमां कैसे कैसे।
स्वागत है एक बार फिर आप सभी का। आप देख रहे हैं फोर्ड द एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी आसमा कैसे कैसे। Marisa, do you have a team here who is helping you with this? I'm sure it's not possible to run around alone.
Sometimes it does feel like you're running around on your own. There's not a team as such. There are volunteers that very kindly help out whenever they can and do whatever they can. The thing about this kind of project is it's a labour of love, of not of finance. So you have to do everything every single day. You can't say to your kids, I'm sorry, you can't eat this week because I'm a bit tired or I've got something else on. And every morning you wake up, you have that motivation. And there's a girl called Liz who has helped out in so many ways, whether it's on the website, in terms of an actual work ethic point of view, or just to support me when I'm having a bad day, when we know how much money we've got to raise and that money's not there, and how we're going to get it, and how we're going to buy the desk for the school or put food in their tummies. And she's just someone that's been a constant support since I came back. I'm very lucky to have her.
So let's call Liz here in the studio, but through TV.
Oh no.
Okay.
Melissa and I were introduced by our husbands, actually, who work together. And I'd moved to Dubai in 2010 when Frontline Fashion was still in its infancy. So I was still looking for work at the time, so I had a lot of spare time on my hands. And when I met Melissa, I was impressed with what she was doing, so put my hand up to volunteer. My career background is digital website and e-commerce. So I helped her with the website and her content and these sorts of things. Pretty much everything to do with the website that I had knowledge in, I gave her. She's quite humble about what she does, and her experiences, whilst she's incredibly touched by them, she doesn't like to go into the gory details with people, because that's not what it's about. It's her experience moved her enough to give up an incredible career to focus 100% of her time on what she does. So it was hearing the basics of her experience in Haiti, but more about how she felt about it and how it changed her and moved her, that motivated me to want to help out. She's amazing. She's got a baby on the way as well. So when a woman who works as hard as she does is turning her life upside down again to work doubly as hard, she'll be raising her own child and doing everything that she can for her Haiti babies at the same time. It's mind-blowing, but if I've ever met anybody that I think can do it, it's her. She's 1 in a million, and she had so much passion about what she's doing and why she's doing it that it was impossible not to be inspired by it and to want to help out.
It's very cruel. I can't believe she was so generous in her comments, and it's so nice to know that you're doing the right thing, and other people think you're doing the right thing as well, and you've not lost the plot, and you've not gone mad, and it is possible.
You know, your baby is already learning all the right things. So
It thinks its mum's crazy.
on 19th August, there was World Humanitarian Day, and we heard that you did a lot of things on that day. You made a lot of arrangements on that day.
Yeah, I think it's important for people to remember this day. It's a global day, and it's simply there to celebrate people helping people. But one of the things I wanted to touch on from a frontline fashion and a Haiti point of view is to feed the hungry tummies. Our aim this year is to put together 140,000 meals for families that don't have access to anything in Haiti. And by purchasing, say, one of our humanities, I like to say our humanities instead of just our humanity t-shirts, it's average about $30. That buys 70 meals. So you can actually feed a person 70 times for a small amount of money. Or $10 buys 6 building blocks. World Humanitarian Day was a fantastic opportunity just to remind people that you can do a lot with not very much.
Melissa, what is your vision for the future? Do you think you have completed what you started, or?
Most definitely not. This is only the beginning. And as I've said before, it's not going to go away. We're talking 20 years, 50 years. This is my life now. To the extent we've just bought 7 acres of land to start building a community. So everything we have at the moment in our house, but on a much larger scale, and give back and give people a future. So there will be 3 school buildings. We have actually just completed last week, 10 days ago, just completed one of these where there was a volunteer trip out there. And also the other thing that we find is important, as I say, is people don't just want, especially Haitian people, they're proud. They don't want handouts. They need them, but they don't want them. And that's one of the things that I learned, that they find it very difficult to ask for help and ask for money. So we've actually sent one of our translators to university to study agriculture.
Okay.
So that they can start being self-sufficient. And then eventually the idea is whatever they grow on the land, they will give a percentage back to the school, back to the community centre, back to the dormitory, which they will get paid for as well. So they will have a wage coming in and they will have a job. So the whole idea is to make it 360 and self-sufficient.
Melissa, before we end the show, and there are lots and lots of people who are watching you, a lot of people want to do something in life, but they always think about the first step. You want to say something to them?
Don't think, just do. If you feel it in your heart and you feel it in your gut, just do it.
Thank you so much for coming. And from all the viewers, from everyone, from the team, all the best for the baby.
Thank you.
And God bless you.
Thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure being here. Thank you so much.
Humanity is always in style. दोस्तों कौन है ये लोग? और ये क्यों बनते हैं दूसरों का सहारा? ये क्यों करते हैं दूसरों की मदद? इन सारे सवालों का जवाब है दी एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी। अगर आप भी अपने आसपास ऐसे लोगों को जानते हैं जो दूसरों के लिए जी रहे हैं, जो कर रहे हैं बहुत बेहतरीन काम, तो आप हमें ईमेल करें teo@magnumopusdubai.com पर, या फिर फेसबुक पर जाएं हमारे पेज दी एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी पर और वहाँ अपने कमेंट्स लिखें। अगले हफ्ते फिर किसी एक फरिश्ते से मुलाकात करेंगे, उनसे बात करेंगे और जानेंगे उनकी ज़िंदगी को। खुदा हाफिज़।
इसी ज़मीं पे मिले हैं हमको आसमां कैसे कैसे, आसमां कैसे कैसे, आसमां कैसे कैसे।
It sees things other cars can't. How far can Ford technology take you?